Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of February 16th. Before we get started, I do want to stress that this report is for current conditions as of today's date. Many factors can cause ice conditions to vary, so please be careful no matter where you fish. For up-to-date ice conditions, please feel free to call the shop at 608-241-4225, and we can let you know what we're hearing around town. Or if you run into some sketchy ice yourself, give us a ring here and we can pass that info on to other folks, or just post your findings in the comments below. So in Madison, I get a lot of questions about this. It's a great topic of discussion is PFAS or PFAs, or now they're calling them PFOs. I don't. It seems like they change the name on them every 6 months or something. But what those are is a chemical that kind of leached out of the airport area up here, got into Starkweather Creek, and flowed down into Lake Monona over many years. It's a chemical that's linked to it's polyfluoro something or another, and it's linked to different kinds of cancers and different diseases, and it's leaked into Lake Monona. So not great. It's in Lake Monona, Waubesa, Kegonsa, been here for many years. But they've just kind of realized that it's there and that it's connected to all these diseases, and there's a lot of concerns about it, of course. So the DNR has put out fish consumption advisories, and they've developed a little app or page or whatever on their website. If you go to the DNR website and just type in fish consumption advisory, this page should come right up. And what you can do is you just click on whatever county you might be fishing in, say Dane County here, and then all the waters within that county that might have an advisory through Lake Monona, and then it comes up and it just says what the current advisory is for those waters. It looks like here it says 1 meal a week for bluegill and panfish and stuff, and then 1 meal a month for bigger fish. But some other information on there. So that's kind of a good resource, and it's a relatively brand new thing as far as I know, thing that they have out. So thanks to the DNR for putting that up and keeping people informed. As far as shop news goes, spring is creeping up faster than I thought, than a lot of us thought. Winter was late and now spring is early. So trying to move out some ice fishing stuff. So anybody listening to this report, stop in the shop. I'm doing 20% off all augers for anybody listening to the report. I'm not going to start advertising sales for a week or two yet, but I figure I'd give maybe some of the folks listening to the report a little bonus here. And yeah, thank you for listening, and come on in and get a good deal on an auger. Otherwise, with the rivers opening up, folks are using walleye flies. I had Al come through, who ties for me out of Fort Atkinson. He fishes the Rock River with walleye flies. He's been pounding them down there on flies. So he dropped off a fresh crop here. Uncle Kurt's going to be dropping off some more flies over here. So we'll be stocking up on those. Stop in and check out what we've got. Also, the ice hasn't been the safest this last week. So again, I've been saying this like every report: spud bar, rope. Certainly at least have ice picks to help get yourself out, but these are all good things to have to make sure where you're fishing is safe. Or, should you get in an emergency, you can get yourself out, or maybe somebody else. Posters on the door out front. Looks like February 17th, there's a sportsman's show at the Savannah Oaks Community Center in Fall River. That's this Saturday. The following Saturday, the 24th, there's a collectible sporting rummage sale in Okauchee. March 15th and 16th, the Muskie Expo up in Wausau. Muskies Inc. is holding their Muskie School on the 23rd at Wanakee High School. That's a great event if you want to learn. They have a ton of great speakers. I guess they're having a fundraiser too on April 6th, where they're having a big name speaker come in there, Jeremy Smith. Otherwise, the Stoughton VFW is hosting their fishing and hunting garage sale. So you get down there, you get some good deals on some new and used fishing equipment. And there's a blood drive here in the neighborhood. So anyway, if you got a poster of anything local or fishing related or both, swing by and drop off a poster. Happy to advertise stuff like that for folks. I think that pretty much does it for the report or the announcements. So weather this week, it's been another week of highs in the 40s. Definitely didn't help ice conditions. I'll get into specific conditions as we go through the report. But there are really only a few places around town that have fishable ice. It got pretty cold last night, and temps this weekend will help firm that ice back up. But I'm afraid the extended forecast doesn't look super good for holding on to that ice. So maybe get out there while you can. Generally, I want to stress that I haven't heard many reports back on ice conditions since we got snow on Wednesday, but I don't think it affected things too much. Folks that have been getting out this last week have been reporting decently thick 6 to 8 inch ice, mostly soft ice, with folks putting boards down in many locations to get out on the ice. But like I said, with some cooler temps this next couple days, that'll firm things up for the weekend, and I guess we'll see how it holds up through next week. Folks that are able to get out on the ice have been finding good fish, with gills showing up in good numbers at several spots, and a few crappies mixed in. Spikes, waxies, and plastics are working well depending on the fish's mood, so I always tell people it's a good idea to come prepared. Nobody is out looking for deep water perch, and of course, with these conditions, nobody's running ATVs anywhere. With shallow water bays being really the only areas with decent ice, pike action remains good, with jumbo and large shiners pulling in some nice pike through the ice as those fish start to bulk up for getting ready to spawn. They're starting to put the feed bag on there a little bit. I haven't heard much for walleyes being caught around town, but folks on the Wisconsin Rock and Mississippi rivers have been finding good numbers of walleye and sauger, mostly near dams and in deeper holes, with fatheads working well for those fish. But walleye flies, like I mentioned too, have also been big producers this time of year. Get into a little more detail up here. So Cherokee, I drove by there the other day. This map doesn't show up, but you got the island up here, and then basically this whole upper third from like Manitouish way up was all open water here. And then there's another big chunk of open water over here. The area around the park still had, what looked like decent ice, except the shorelines, of course, are a little beat up. But there were folks putting boards out. Not a lot of folks fishing up there. I haven't heard a lot in the way of action, but it's usually a good pike spot, and it's definitely worth a look. I tell people you never know when it's going to be on or off. So I tell people, give it an hour. If you don't find any fish, go find somewhere else to fish. Not much happening down to the 113 bridge, although the water down there is open, and I know I have. Actually, I take that back. I did have one guy come in and say he got a couple small pike down there this last week, and a guy in a kayak was jigging around down there. I guess I didn't hear how he did specifically. As far as Lake Mendota goes, it's mostly ice covered, but I do want to thank, Dave Lundy, a good friend of the shop here, stopped in. He was out yesterday driving around. This is the view from Mendota County Park, so I mean, you might be fishing in boats here before the walleye season closes, the way it's looking. But the whole west end of Lake Mendota is not in great shape. This is a view from Shorewood Hills over there, and another view. You can see there's huge cracks and sketchy ice. So I'm basically just telling people, and I do want to thank Dave again for sending in these pictures. That's a big help to let me know what's going on out there. Basically, this whole west end of the lake is screwed. You could probably find some ice over to Marshall or at Spring Harbor, but I really haven't heard any reports of either of those places too. And I know Spring Harbor can open up pretty early, so just be careful if you fish any of those little inlets. But basically, the whole west end of the lake is not in great shape. There are people getting on. There were in North Bay, but I think that's also opening up with that warmer water coming in off Cherokee. Warner Bay has been fishing, or has been having good ice. It's been fishing all right. Good tip up action in there for sure. And along Maple Bluff and up here, kind of on the northeast end of the lake, still has accessible ice. I know folks have been finding some good pike action up there. Not much in the way of panfish. Down to the University shoreline, we got this. Where's that camera? Mendota Today camera. There was a guy in a shack right out here yesterday. And then this other camera that points more out into the lake along the Edgewood side of things. There's one guy, he's been sitting out there since about 6 this morning. So I don't know if he's on any fish, but anyway, ice is sketchy, so please be careful. But again, this cold weather is gonna firm things up, so we might be all right through the weekend. But always, of course, do use caution, especially out on Mendota. Like I said, some sketchy ice out there. University Bay, too. I haven't really heard much out of University Bay. I talked to one guy who said he found 6 inches everywhere he went down there. The same day, I talked to a guy who said a friend of his went through. So, it sounded like his buddy went through on some really shallow ice closer to shore, probably maybe a spring issue. But again, do be careful no matter where you fish. Kind of the same deal on Monona. I would avoid the deep water, certainly. But your shallow bays are still have good ice, or decent ice, I should say. Over here to Weechawak Bay, formerly known as Squaw Bay, they've been getting on there, finding 6 to 8 inches of ice, and it's been soft ice, but they've been getting on, finding some gills in there and some nice pike. Turtle Bay's been quiet. I haven't heard anything out of Turtle all year, really. But I imagine the ice down there is okay. Monona Bay continues to be kind of the shining star of things. They've been getting on at the North Triangle, although the ice looks sketchier and sketchier there every day. This cold weather will help firm that up, and I know folks have been getting out all week. Even yesterday they were on. I will show you this thing that was posted on the Facebook um, Madison Chain Fishing Club Facebook page, which is also, give them a follow if you're on Facebook, because a lot of great local information there. But this is some drone pictures that were taken by Ethan Brodsky. Thanks, Ethan, for posting this. But the ice just looks like crap. But honestly, outside of like these open areas and up here in the North Triangle, this wasn't open ice, at least, or open water the other day. It might look open here, but it was still ice. And actually, you can see, you zoom in here on this guy, you can see there's a couple of folks out there. So it's just clear ice, and that's the same deal with some of this ice in here too. I mean, it looks bad, but it's actually about 6 inches thick. It was a little soft all week, but this cold weather should have things firmed up. Here's some people fishing pretty close to what was recently some open water. I don't know if it was open that day. Certainly don't recommend folks doing that, but anyway, that's the conditions on Monona Bay. They're still pounding bluegills down there. The size might be going down a little bit. That's been getting hit all year. But basically, this whole west end of the bay has been good. Anywhere along Brittingham Park and the Triangles, they've been getting good fish. Haven't heard much out of Wingra. I'm sure you can still find decent ice out there, although I would be careful on this west end. I know personally I've run into some springs over here, so careful where you walk around out there. Otherwise, they've been getting some fish below the spillway over here at the Wingra Dam, so that's always an option there. And I guess that's kind of it for Monona. Down on Upper Mud, so a lot of open water down here too. I've heard there's open water all the way from Lattice Park over in here, all the way up through the channel, of course, and then the channel out here on Upper Mud has also opened up. But the ice, as far as I know, in by the dredge hole is still in decent shape. The only real problem is I haven't heard many reports from back there, because getting back there is a problem. So you park here, you got to walk through the swamp, and that's all been a sloppy mess. This cold weather that we're getting, it's supposed to be 11 degrees tonight, might firm some of that up. So you might be able to get back there, maybe bring your tall boots and slog through there. But the action out on Mud has been great. Some good bluegills and some good pickup action or tip up action out there. Down on Lake Farm, also been some good action out there. Also one of the only spots where folks are getting on at Lake Farm Park. They've been putting some boards out, thanks to whoever's doing that. But folks are getting some good bluegills in here, everywhere from Hog Island and then just north of the launch. That's right in here in this area. So some fish coming out there. I know there have been some folks poking around in the South Bay. I haven't heard any reports out of that, but it's typically a good late ice spot. So get on it. They're probably getting on at Goodland Park here and walking south. Otherwise, Kegonsa, I continue to not hear many reports out of there, other than I heard about some bluegills in the southeast corner of the lake here. Out from the state park's usually good for walleyes, but I'm sure the shorelines are rough there. Nobody running ATVs, and you might want to avoid the middle of the lake. But that's about all I know for Kegonsa. Heard about some pike moving in at the dam at Indian Fort down in the Rock River. Otherwise, Kashinong ice is not very fishable, as I understand it, but the river is opened up here and even into the lake here on the northeast end, I guess you'd call it. Up through Black Hawk Island, Fort Atkinson, and up to the Jefferson Dam, they've been finding some good walleyes. Walleye minnow on a jig is, of course, a classic way to go about it, but walleye flies have been big producers up there, especially up at the Jefferson Dam. So I swing in the shop and get some of those if you like. Otherwise, I'm not even going to try to do any reports about anywhere like Beaver Dam. Devil's Lake probably has good ice. Still, you can probably get on there, maybe from the south shoreline. It's a little more shaded down there. Chase some trout if you like. Otherwise, the Wisconsin River is wide open. Got a lot of folks coming through the shop, picking up bait, heading up here. All your dams, Prairie du Sac, Dells, Castle Rock, Petenwell, all holding a ton of fish. Walleye and sauger backed up there. Heard about folks doing good on your standard jig and a minnow, but guys drop shotting have been doing well too. So drop shot with a walleye a foot or 18 inches off the bottom has been also producing some good fish. Lake Wisconsin, I'm not going to try to tell anybody that there's good ice out here, because even if there is, I wouldn't go out there with all the current and stuff. I just stick to some of the shallow bays. I've heard Harmony Grove, a guy was telling me the other day, he got into some fish over there, but do be careful no matter where you fish out there. Like I said, the river's open and folks are getting fish. Dells Dam's been good. Castle Rock Dam, Petenwell. I don't know anything about the ice on either of those lakes, but I know Petenwell was sketchy a while ago. So the Mississippi River, we got open water up here. Folks are launching boats. The backwater perch bite has been not great because the ice has been very sketchy. But I heard down here in DeSoto, Kevin was driving through this area and he said he saw some folks out on DeSoto Bay. So I guess you wouldn't catch me out there, but I guess those conditions might improve with the cooler weather. But anyway, if you want to drive out to the Mississippi, maybe call a bait shop out there and check on ice conditions before you go. Otherwise, over to the Milwaukee River or Milwaukee area, the harbors are open and producing browns and steelhead out there. Guys trolling for them, and then fish are starting to move up the tribs. I've heard some good reports, especially active brown trout in the Milwaukee River, Menominee River, all the way up the east coast over here. So that run's going to be good. The steelhead are also probably in there. I've seen a few steelhead caught, but that bite is only going to get better as we go through March and even into April. So like I said, I'm not going to really try to venture any. I know they have been getting out in boats up to De Pere, so if you want to go catch some monster walleyes up there, they've been getting out in the De Pere area. But other than that, like I said, not going to really try to predict any ice conditions or fishing conditions in areas where I don't really know anything about it right now. As far as trout goes, inland trout season continues to move along great. Folks are getting some good fish. We've had some great weather for it. The snow is pretty much melted around the area, so those streams should be stabilizing as far as temperature goes. Still, your best time to fish this time of year is usually 10 to 2, 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. And on the spinning gear side of things, or a Paula countdown or a crappie-sized tube jig, work slowly through some of your deeper holes, and maybe deeper tail outs is a great option on the spinning gear side of things. Otherwise, for flies, drifting woolly buggers and nymphs through some of those deeper tail outs is a pretty safe bet. But for me, I mention it every time. All you really need is a pink squirrel. Great fly. We carry them here at the shop, and it's just killer this time of year for whatever reason. As far as the happy fly day, to everyone, I guess maybe not considered a fly, but maybe something to use a fly rod for, is beads. So I mentioned, the brown trout bite and steelhead bite over on the East Coast is going well. I've had a few folks coming through, picking up beads and doing well over there with these. So, these are just an egg pattern. You can drift these solo, either on a fly rod or, if you're using spinning gear, we got floats for them too. So to get your presentation out there. But on the fly side of things, I like to run big streamers with like one of these eggs behind it, and these are bloop eggs, very popular, great colors, and a lot of selection here. So yeah, swing by and pick up that stuff. Otherwise, I think that does it for the report. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stop in, like I said, get a good deal on an auger if you're looking for one, and otherwise be safe out there and good luck. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in.